supporting prison abolition instead of prison reform. And I suppose I never even realized that some of my beliefs technically didn't even align with prison reform, and it aligns more with prison abolition. So through reading this book, I really opened my mindset about that topic. I really loved a lot of the specific examples Angela Davis uses to get her message across. It is, all of the examples are very moving and powerful. I feel like, especially someone who doesn't know a lot about the topic or someone who knows a lot about it, both of those audiences would probably have a good time reading this book. So yeah, and I have read a few of her books this year. I did recommend one of her books in my last video, Freedom is a Constant Struggle, and that was also one of my favorite books that I've read this year. So I would highly recommend reading Angela Davis in general if you haven't. She is a very wonderful author, and yeah, she is someone that you should definitely read. My next book that I wanted to recommend would be The Holocaust Industry by Norm Finkelstein. And the main reason why I wanted to recommend this book in particular is for a similar reason that I wanted to recommend the last book. But this book gives a lot of information on the topic of the way the Holocaust is used in America to benefit specific groups of people in both America and in Israel. And I feel like I wanted to read this book because I was seeing it on TikTok a very long time ago, probably about a year ago now I saw it, but I just got around to reading it. It took me a few months to get through it because it's a little bit heavier of a book, but I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it to people who haven't really read too much about, I suppose maybe the Holocaust, but also I guess it slightly relates to the conflict that's currently happening between Palestine and Israel. And I feel like this book in particular shows a lot of historical information regarding the conflict that's currently happening, but it also gives some information about what happened after World War II and after the Holocaust had come to an end. It talks about the way reparations were handed out and how they were distributed and things like that, and that was very interesting to read about because I'd really never learned about that before. So yeah, anyway, that's sort of why I'd recommend that book. And I do have a few more Norm Finkelstein books that I want to read in the future. I want to read mainly his book titled Gaza. However, that is a very long book, and I don't really like reading longer books, but I do want to read that one. And then my next book is on Palestine by, sorry if I pronounce this name wrong, but I believe you say his name Ilan Pepe. I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name correctly. And Noam Chomsky. And I just recently finished this book, and I would highly recommend it. This specifically has to do with Palestine and the history between Palestine and Israel. It covers many different historical points in history and their thoughts on it, and how such as America and Israel, and other nations in Africa and the Middle East are interacting with Israel and Palestine, and how it can be changed in the future to benefit everyone involved, especially from a civilian standpoint, I guess, or a humanitarian standpoint is where they were coming from. I also liked the way the book, the two authors covered the new viewpoint and the old viewpoint on supporting a free Palestine. I guess in the way, in the tactics which people use to support Palestine, or specifically a big example that they covered was the difference between a one-state versus a two-state solution. So hearing the author's perspective on that stuff was very eye-opening for me. So overall, yeah, I'd highly recommend the book. I feel like it was interesting to read as someone who knows information on the history of the two countries. I feel like if you don't have a lot of background information, it might be a little bit harder to follow along. You might have to Google some things and read a few articles just to understand, like, what different things are, like the Paris Accord, or the First or Second Intifadas, things like that. You might not necessarily know the full historical context, so yeah. But anyway, overall, I would recommend it to anyone who wants to know more information on Palestine. It was a very good book. So yeah, highly recommend. And then the final book I wanted to recommend is a book that I just tapped on in my last video, I believe, or maybe 2 videos ago. It is a poetry book, so it's not as heavy of a topic, but it is a poetry book by Maya Angelou, and it's just a collection of her poetry. The title is Maya Angelou, The Complete Poetry, and I got this book out at my local library, and I just finished reading it yesterday, and it was so good. I 100% recommend this book to anyone. I feel like even if you don't like poetry, you would like this book. I feel like it covers, it's very deeply involved with Black culture, and I haven't read poetry like that before, and I feel like it was so touching to me. I feel like I also really liked the way she wrote in a lot of different poems. I feel like she had a very unique voice that I enjoyed, and it kept me very interested in a lot of the poems. So yeah, so I feel like almost every single poem that was in the book was a favorite of mine. But I think a couple of my favorites are Late October. I'm trying to remember the names off the top of my head, but I will tap on some of the pages. I believe Late October, and yeah, now I don't remember any of the titles, but yeah, I will tap on a few different poems while I'm talking about it. I'm drawing a blank right now. But anyway, yeah, I loved a lot of the poems, and I would highly recommend this book as well, especially if you are looking for, I guess, more of like a mid-sized or longer poetry book. I feel like this one would be perfect. So, for reference, it's 308 pages. I feel like that's kind of long for a poetry book. But anyway, so yeah, that is all of the book recommendations I have for right now. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. feel a bit awkward talking. I feel like I don't talk a lot. But let me know if you want to hear more whispering videos in the future. I feel like I might like doing rambling videos, just tapping on random things. I might want to do some of those videos, so let me know if anyone would want that. But yeah, so that's all for me for right now. If you like this video, please like or leave a comment on what you'd like to see in future videos. And if you're new to my channel and you want to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. I'm close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm so excited. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the